And we're on record saying we believe in 5 years the stock will hit $2,600.
特斯拉5年内股价达到$2600，也就是现在价格的10倍。没错，你一点都没听错，这就是大名鼎鼎的木头姐在3月份刚刚进行的香港汇丰全球投资峰会的现场采访，当着镜头直接明确表示，特斯拉5年内股价达到$2600。之前咱们就分享过，ARK 基金研报说特斯拉股价会在2029年左右达到$2000至$3000一股，但这次是木头姐亲口讲出来，还是第一次。为了保险起见，我找到采访视频，认认真真的好好看了好几遍。这次采访信息量非常大，涉及特斯拉和马斯克的方方面面，包括对马斯克从政的看法。我做个简要总结分享给各位。视频后半部分我把原采访视频也附上了，并做了简单翻译，关心特斯拉的朋友们可以自己好好看看。第一，明确表示特斯拉5年内股价会达到$2600，也就是现在股价的10倍。第二，木头姐认为特斯拉未来价值的90%都是靠 robo taxi 无人驾驶出租车业务，利润高到惊人，发展速度远超 ARK 基金想象，而且今年6月就会在美国德克萨斯州的奥斯汀落地商用。第三，木头姐亲口说了，第2季度特斯拉会有新的经济型车型发布，$3万以内，我已经等了很久了。第四，马斯克从政带来的负面影响会逐步减弱，长期看好特斯拉。第五，特斯拉的竞争力仍然很强，特别讲到了中国市场的情况。当然，关于百度公司，木头姐也讲了不少，但是我就没把这部分视频保留，要不实在太长了。这5点足够了，就问各位信不信？特斯拉5年翻10倍，$2600一股。总有人嘲笑木头姐啊，但是人家是唯一一个把自己基金投资的任何细节都敢公布于众的人。木头姐到底是特斯拉的明灯呢，还是明灯呢？反正我是一直非常相信他。特斯拉的股票跌成这个样子，我一股也没卖。各位信不信木头姐的预测呢？评论区留言。后面的部分就是采访的原视频，未经任何删减。真正想研究特斯拉的朋友们可以认真观看，我也不管什么完播率了，各位能点个赞我就值了。
With some of our views later on, but obviously what we can talk about.
Yes.
We want to start with Tesla.
Yes.
And I'm sure you've been getting a lot of questions about the stock.
Absolutely.
Down 50%. It's recovered nicely this week. I think Elon Musk used your name when he spoke to his employees to basically tell them, hold the stock, look at the bull case Cathie Wood has underscored. Have any of the concerns recently around the stock hold water? Do you think some of them hold water? Has your bull case changed at the margins?
Well, first I'm going to give all the credit to the 3 analysts who are working on Tesla at ARK. And no, our outlook has not changed. What is going on right now, very short term, the economy is being hit in the US, lots of uncertainty. That's not good for any auto manufacturer. Of course, there's the political dynamic overlay, and I know that the authorities are going after that. I think that will pass. We also have the Model Y refresh, and we understand that the orders for the Model Y refreshed are going very strongly. I won't get mine for a very long time. They have a new low-cost car coming in the second quarter, which in the United States I think it could sell for $30,000 or less. There's pent-up demand for that. So we've got a lot of rubber bands stretching, and the most important one of all, of course, is robotaxi. And Elon has announced that Tesla will launch its robotaxi service commercially in Austin, Texas in June. That is when analysts are going to have to put into their models what a robotaxi service is. And it's a software as a service model. Right. Very high margin, 80% plus for platform companies, whereas the electric vehicle is 15, 20, 25% gross margin. So we think that robo-taxis will account for 90% of the value of the company in 5 years. And we're on record saying we believe in 5 years the stock will hit $2,600. And that's not even including humanoid robots, which are now moving into the Tesla ecosystem much faster than even we expected. So more than a tenfold increase just from robo-taxis. So.
You're not concerned over, let's call it noise, because of Elon Musk's role with the government, for example, and how that may or may have not contributed to the risk premium of the stock?
Yes, I think this is one reason the stock is down 50%. It's been cut in half. And I think this is all very short term. This is criminal activity, and this administration is cracking down on criminal activity. And oh, by the way, Tesla cars have a lot of cameras on them. So on X, we're getting to see the people who are committing these crimes, and the authorities are going after them.
Surprised to say you've added to your position
Yes,
in Tesla this week?
We post our trades at the end of every day, so you can see that we've added to our position.
Okay, do you think, one last question on Tesla, do you think they need to, is there any corporate action you think they should entertain right now to boost the stock? Or do you think sentiment takes care of itself?
I think these launches, the refreshed Y, the low-cost car, and robo-taxi, those three, and there is one other thing, and this is more a macro comment.
Sure.
We think the economy is getting hit by a lot of uncertainty. And I think a lot of people are scared for their jobs in the U.S. Anyone involved with the government, so federal, state and local, or quasi-government in the healthcare and education space, that could be as much as 30% of the labor force in the United States. And then we've got AI as another layer of uncertainty. We're seeing middle management teams actually being let go because of the productivity gains associated with AI. Their bosses can handle more and more and more over time. So that's another source of uncertainty, but we think that is going to play out positively longer term. Technology and breakthroughs in technologies are always associated with new jobs that we can't even imagine.
Right. I want to ask you now, let me pull in the China factor here into the Tesla story. And one of the, I think, more common observations that we've heard from analysts in this part of the world is that Tesla in China as a final market currently has a somewhat inferior product compared to the competitor. Is that an argument that you buy?
Well, if you look, it depends on what you mean by inferior. So we're looking at the BYD cars, and they are fabulous in terms of, from what we can see, fit, finish, design. If you look at metrics like range and power for a given price, Tesla is still very competitive, if not the most competitive, depending on the model of car.
Right. There's nuance there.
Yes, but BYD is, from a cost point of view, moving down the consumer electronic battery cost curve, just like Tesla is. So actually, we think it's great. We think competition is great, but more important for new kinds of technologies is scaling those technologies, which both Tesla and BYD are doing. And when unit growth increases, costs come down even more. So we think Tesla and BYD are both in the lead from an EV point of view alone.
Right.
If you layer in robo-taxi, of course, BYD is not seizing the moment there, at least not yet.
Okay, I know I said one last question on Tesla. You opened one door. Very quickly, worst case scenario. Let's extrapolate worst case scenario. In the event that Tesla does not do well in China, in the slightest event it doesn't, for example, and you point out, of course, that they are still very competitive there, does the bull case still hold up for Tesla if they, say, lose that market?
We do believe that China is very important to Tesla, and I actually think that Elon Musk and May Musk, his mother, are sort of ambassadors for the United States.
May Musk is a big star in China.
Yes, and rightly so. But to answer your question directly, if China were to fail, that would be a short-term hit to the stock. Would it take us away from $2,600? No, because the robo-taxi story is much more a function of the Western world, where ride-hailing costs are so much higher than they are in China. We know in Wuhan, for example, Baidu's Apollo, is facing human taxi drivers that, or taxis that cost 35 cents per mile. That in the U.S., it's $2 to $4 per mile. So that's why we think the robo-taxi opportunity is so much bigger outside of China.
You mentioned Baidu. You guys are nibbling.
We are.
Okay, why? Tell me why.
Well, we had a conversation very recently with Robin Li and his team, the CEO. We understand how competitive the market is in China for both autonomous mobility and large language models. But we're looking at how Robin Li is pushing the envelope. Wuhan is the toughest market in China. He can take learnings from that robotaxi experience into other markets, even just Beijing in China, and here in Hong Kong, where the pricing will be much higher. So we think he's working very hard on autonomous mobility. We believe that autonomous mobility in the next 5 to 10 years is going to scale globally to an $8 to $10 trillion market.
Okay.
If Baidu were to get any of that market, even outside of China, in the rest of Asia, we think that's not at all discounted in the stock.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you see yourself adding to that position then, I would imagine?
We can never talk about what we're going to do, but you can see our trades posted every day, so we've been nibbling.
Have you entertained looking at any other name in China besides Baidu?
Oh yes, I think the shift in even Xi Jinping's wording, common prosperity, which is still a phrase used, toward new productive forces.
Right, tech in the private sector.
Tech, efficiency, innovation. We're very impressed by what is going on in China. And of course, there was the DeepSeek moment, which for China, or it was the equivalent in China for the rest of the world, that ChatGPT was in late 22, I think.
Yeah.
So that was a big wake-up call. And one of the things we learned, so interesting, is that yes, they may have done it less expensively, maybe much less expensively. We're not quite sure about that. But the algorithm, very creative. It had not been created in the West. This is from China. It is open source. So now everyone is starting to use it. They say, we love that idea, and we're copying it. So what we've also learned and did not know until we started studying this open source movement here in China is that it really started a decade ago, because a lot of software providers from the Western world were not providing their software to China out of fear of IP theft. So China said, okay, let's do it ourselves and move open source. I love open source, and I think it's going to create a